So then he later on like asked me like what life is. Life is like a while loop whose termination condition is unknown to us. After that, he told me that he had some DSA question planned, but we will not be doing those questions.
Hello everyone, I am Viomesh Singh. Welcome to my channel. Previously, we have discussed interview experience of Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, Walmart Labs, and many more. Today, we are going to discuss interview experience of the Paytm with Nitin. Nitin got selected in Paytm just now, so we can have the first-hand idea how the placement process is going on in 2020 in the COVID situation. Welcome, Nitin.
Thank you.
His YouTube videos, interview experience helps a lot. Like, yeah, I also gone through like 20 to 40 interview experience from YouTube and GFC. So these things help. Please like, share, and subscribe. His videos are really amazing, and he's an amazing guy.
Nitin, could you please introduce yourself?
Okay. So, guys, my name is Nitin Dhemiwal. I recently got selected in the Paytm placement drive. I'm from Delhi Technological University, also known as DTU or DCE, and my branch is ECE.
I love computer science, but I hated physics. At the start of my fifth semester, my aggregate CGPA was 6.6. So I was a little bit afraid, like was not able to sit for many internships, or neither I was a little bit scared, like if I will be able to sit for the placement rounds or not. I have a phobia of maths, like I'm not very good at maths. Like even my 12th result, 12th maths CBSE result was 48 out of 100. So it is that.
Oh,
Like my aggregate of 12th was 80%, but my maths marks was literally 48. So
so
I was
guys, you
not
need
very.
to think about it. A person who scored only 48 in the 12th in the math, and finally he got placed in big dream company Paytm. So you can learn from him. Like even though you are not good in studies earlier, but you can make up it, and you can go for it. You can try for the best company. You will be get selected. Nitin,
Okay.
first thing I want to ask, how the placement drive is different in the COVID situation in this year? Because earlier there was face-to-face everything.
Yeah.
So what is the scenario right now?
Okay. So, scenario like if we see company wise, we are seeing many companies are not visiting campuses for the full time employees. Like Microsoft, Uber is not coming to like this year for the FTEs, and also many companies are hiring very less in these days. So the frequency and the hiring process is a little slow in the COVID time.
Process is also somewhat different this time.
Yeah, the everything is now going on happening like virtually since we cannot visit campuses. All the online test interview rounds are all happening on like Google Meet or Zoom and other online platforms. Like everything is going virtually right now.
What was the selection process of Paytm?
So the online test was held on CoCube, like which was a very new, like this was my first attempt at a CoCube test. So the platform was actually very unique, if I say so, because in like usual hackers round, we know how our solution has worked, like how many test cases are failed, how many test cases are passed. But in CoCubes, we are only given a sample test cases on which we can test. So I think that is a very different thing
Okay,
on
there was
CoQ.
some hidden test
And
cases also.
yeah, I think the CoQ platform only had two uh, visible test cases for us, and all the test cases were hidden. Like we don't even know if all the test cases pass or not. Like the results are also hidden.
Oh,
Okay,
and how
so
many interview
like
rounds
if
were
I
there?
three inter-rounds was there. The first two rounds was purely technical, and the third was like it was unique for everyone. Like some people got HR plus technical, and some people got HR plus core. And my third round was purely HR.
How was your written test and coding round experience at Paytm? Time limitation of
Okay,
the for coding round. how many questions for coding and
So
difficulty
the
level of
coding round
questions?
question was like, it was good. Like some people solved it quite early, but I got a little problem in two questions. Actually, I misspelled two variables into those questions. So it took me like full time to like see where my error was. Like
Okay.
for me, it was like 70 out of 70 minutes. I submitted my solution at 68 minutes. I think 58 minutes 12 seconds, if I
Okay.
remember
Okay.
correctly.
And difficulty level
Yeah.
of the question and topic of question, if you can recall.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the first and the second question was medium level difficulty. Like you see on lead code, it was leveled from easy to medium, and the second
Okay.
one was from medium to hard. And the third question, and the topics were, if I remember correctly, one was DP and one was string manipulation or number manipulation.
Okay.
I don't really recall the first and the second question, but
Hmm.
the third question, the hard one, was based on graph and trees. It was actually a traditional tree question. In this, at every node, we need to find the nearest leaf node from that. So it is a typical tree question, but it can also be done with a BFS approach. I later realized it can be very easily done with a BFS approach.
Okay.
The people I asked, like the third question was same for most of us, and the first second question was shuffled in between a set. Like first and the second question were different for everyone, and the third question was same, mostly same.
Okay. As you have mentioned, there were three rounds of interview where first and second round were purely technical. And you have also mentioned it was the first time you were facing interview. So how was your
Yeah, it
interview experience with Paytm, the first technical round you faced?
okay. So like I was a little skeptical at start when I started coding preparation back in May. So like I was a little skeptical, like how would I present myself in an interview. So I took some mock interviews from my seniors. In mock interviews, like I really improved over those. Like I have given 3 to 4 mock interviews prior to my actual interview. So I think the growth curve was exponential in those. So
Okay.
Paytm interview, I don't really like spread so much, or I wasn't under so much pressure. So I think went very good. Like all the things went smoothly, and the interview, and I was very frank at the start, and we talked about like how was college life and how COVID like messed up our 4th years and how are we doing. So he asked me about those things, and then we moved to my resume and my project, and we discussed some in-depth question on like 10 to 15 minutes on our project, which I did.
Okay. So your first round was purely based on your project, or they have also other competitive programming and data structure questions?
Yeah, it has also a DSA question. Like I also solved 3 DSA questions after that.
Oh, what was the length of the interview, first round interview?
Okay, the first round interview was around 1 hour 15 minutes, I think.
So in
1 hour 15
75
minutes.
minutes, you discuss your resume and your projects, and you have sort of three questions as well. So what was the
Yeah,
difficulty of those questions?
I think the interviewer was really interested in my project. So we went deep into that. And then we realized we are short on time. So yeah, quickly ask me the DSA question. Yeah, the difficulty of the questions was like the first one was fairly easy, and the second one was, I think, based on trees. It was a tree question, and it was like very simple, like valid BSC question. Like we need to validate a binary search tree. I discussed
Okay.
like 2 3 approaches on that, and then we moved on to the last one, which was of hard difficulty. I think it is on lead code by the name of design hashtag. It was the
Okay.
exact same question. I was asked to design a function. I was asked to design a hashtag basically, and
How
then
was your
after,
second round of technical interview, and how
okay,
is it different from the first round?
okay. So like after first round, we got some eliminations from that round. Like we started as 17 people and we moved on to 11 in the second round.
That's
like
new
only
because most
11.
of the time, all the students who have cracked the written, they faced all the interview round. But this is, I think, because of COVID, all the interview round was elimination round. Is it?
Yeah, I think in every company I saw there are elimination rounds. Like interview rounds are elimination round after the first or the second step.
Okay, okay.
So like
So
after
back to
like
our question again. So how second round is
yeah,
different than the first round?
a quick introduction, and then we straight away moved to the DSL questions. Like there was no discussion on the project or anything, and he asked me like three DSA questions, and the same. I think the difficulty was a little bit higher. Like the first question was this medium, like lead code level medium, and the second one was also can be classified as medium to, and then we moved on to the last one. That was a graph question. I think that was topological sort and the cycle detection. So I think that was definitely a hard question.
The topological sort is always hard.
Yeah, it was actually a hard question.
So the first question was we were given an array of elements and we need to return an array in which an ith element denotes the product of the array x divided by that ith element. So like this was the question. I like basically gave him a brute force approach that we will calculate the product of that array and divide by that number, by the ith number. But in that approach, like we had some what we say edge cases like the
Hmm.
zero. If that element is the zero, and we need to put some if else condition, and then it would be sorted. And then he wanted me to give him a better approach, so I gave him a DIPRI approach, like dynamic programming approach, and then he asked me to code the second approach.
Okay. So in the
So
second
it's like,
round of the interview, they ask you to code as well.
yeah, he asked me to code, explain my approach, and the approach that seemed suitable to him, I was asked to code it. So that was like discuss the approach first and then code the said approach.
Okay.
So like after that we moved on to the second question, like which was again it was a coincidence that I got the same question, interview question in the first and the second round. Like
Oh,
this
you are
question
totally
was
lucky.
so the question was a valid BST. I needed to find the valid BST. In this, I discussed a little bit a different approach, and I coded that approach. Like that was the definition. I used the definition to reduce the coding. Like I put a upper limit and the lower limit for every element and check if the limits are satisfied or not. So
Okay.
that was my approach, and he was satisfied with it. So then we moved on to the next, the last topological sorting question.
Okay.
So okay, so in the last round, like we discussed a question. Like it took me like 5 to 10 minutes to get the question. Like since it was a little bit harder to
Hmm.
grasp, and then we discussed on of two three approaches. I discussed an approach to first find out the cyclicity and then moved on to the topological sorting part. Like he was satisfied with the approach and then he asked me to like code it. And like when I was like started coding, we discussed it like a different approach.
Hmm.
Like even in this topological sorting party, we check if the next element we can find or not, so that we eliminated the cyclicity wala part completely. Like yeah, after discussing the approach, we did eliminated that part, and then we moved on to like coding the better approach.
So in
So
the second
it
round,
took me around.
you literally code everything, or it was like write the algorithm.
Okay, so it was like discussing the approach and the approach that suited the best. I was asked to code it, like code the function, like not the whole program, just the function, and then we like interview and me together we dry run some examples to see if everything works or not.
After the second round, you have completed two technical round, and both of your first company you are facing in the interview. So now you face the final round, which was HR or technical or combination of both. So
It
What
was
was the
actually
prize
very
that
random.
time, and how was your experience in the final round?
He asked me some questions about me, like what I did do and like what my personality is and what my hobbies are. So in my hobbies, like I mentioned, I write some sci-fi. As sci-fi and psychology, I wrote some things about those things on those lines. So then he later on like asked me like what life is. So
What
like
life
I was
is?
a little what life is. So I was a little bit taken back. Like what should I answer? Is it a trick question or not? Like what is this? So I literally took the computer science definition of what life is. So I gave him a definition like life is like a while loop whose termination condition is unknown to us. So like
Okay.
this is the definition. Like this is the definition I could come up with, and in that definition, I uh, mentioned a line about like we try to live each day to make us like as happy as possible. Like if we add an extra condition to that, that is the thing. Like what we do in that too. So we try to maximize our happiness.
You created this
So
answer at that time only.
yeah, I created this answer at that time.
You are
So
quite witty
like
then.
he was yeah, he was like literally impressed by it, I think, because after that he told me that he had some DSA question planned, but we will not be doing those questions. We had a like philosophical talk about happiness and all those things. We talked about like what happiness is without sorrow, and will we truly appreciate happiness without sorrow. So that
Before
went
the
on
interview,
like
you was
for
crazy about
another.
SQL and OS, and your final round of interview was what life is, what is happiness.
Yeah, yeah, it was was literally taken back by that. And then we like the discussion went on for 10 to 15 minutes. He told me like what he thinks and what I think, and we try to come up on a common ground.
Okay.
After like that, it
On
was like a
philosophy?
back end, yeah, on happiness actually. Like
Okay.
if what will we truly appreciate our life, it's if it's all about happiness. Like if you are happy for each and every day, will you be actually happy or not? Like it is a very deep question if you think about it, and I think it will take up all our time. Like we are planning to discuss all those things. So like
If I was in the
after
interview
the
instead of you, I might have laughed, dude.
after this discussion, like we moved on to the situations,
Hmm.
like where we discussed some. There was two situations given. He asked me like one or two three things. So the first situation was like I'm actually a team leader for a project
Hmm.
or something, a product, and it is about its launch date is right now. Like it is about to be launched right now, and I have a flight to catch. Like I am on the phone with the staff and all those things, like how it is going, and then and at any moment the product crashes.
Hmm.
Okay, and I have boarded the flight, and I am completely offline, like cut off from the team. So like what can I do? Like we discuss about these things. So the first approach that I like, the first idea that I gave, that was very wild, and actually it cannot happen like in the real life. So I took a page from Three Idiots. Like if you remember the starting of the Three Idiots when Farhan got a call like, I think Rancho has been found. Rancho has been found. So he fakes a heart attack and lands the plane. Actually, I gave that idea.
Okay.
I took a little bit cautious approach that I told that this is a wild idea. Actually, this I just want to put it out there. Like I'm
Hmm.
not making joke or anything. I just want to put this idea forward.
Hmm.
And then that was like completely off the topic, and he told me that it cannot happen. Like we have the medical staff, we have a doctor on board, so you cannot fake a heart attack. And you cannot like emergency land the plane right now.
Hmm.
Okay. So after that, we go through. I discussed like two, three different ways that I could do, and the final answer, like that was that I would not be doing anything. I would be enjoying my flight right now for 2, 3 hours, and then landing and then sorting the mess out. Yeah, that was my last approach, and that was the actual approach he was looking for.
Hmm.
So that went very well. And the second one was, I think, his personal experience. It was around like team management and how to build team trust.
Hmm.
Like he told me that I have joined my Paytm as a fresher, and my manager is actually ignoring me. So how do I approach the situation? Like, should I go through the chain of command? Should I contact my other teammates? And what sort of things should I do? So I discussed two, three different ideas, but there was nothing as such as wild as Three Idiots all about. So nothing as wild. I discussed like two, three approaches, and the final one that I came up with was I would talk to my seniors, like who are already a senior member in the team, and go through those guys like how to approach the situation, or I ask them like how what should I do, or ask for work from them and prove myself to the manager and then move on to. So like I gave this approach, and also his feedback solution was also same, like he was looking for the same answer.
After this kind of final round, what were you expecting?
Actually, I had no idea. Like I literally had no idea like what to expect, and like the
You
time my
might feel
interview
like
concluded
he
was
might not be
7:30.
serious to take me. That's why he was taking this kind of interview.
I'm not really sure. Like I was literally not sure like what happened to me.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you very
Sure.
much.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise. It was actually good to talk to some of my seniors. Like you are D2, right? Ex-DTU,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. I have
If I
passed out
remember
from
correctly.
DTU and about to pass from NSIT. Thank you,
Okay.
Nitin. Thank you very much.
Yeah, likewise. It was a very good experience talking to you. Yeah, please like, share, and subscribe. His videos are really amazing, and he's an amazing guy. Like I literally got to know about him like through a LinkedIn message. He messaged me about like asking me for an interview experience, and then we later on talked about college life and stuff. Like he's really amazing, and you can learn a lot from him. So like these YouTube videos, interview experience helps a lot. Like yeah, I also gone through like 20 to 40 interview experience from YouTube and GFC. So these things help. And thank you so for that. At the start of my fifth semester, my aggregate CGPA was 6.6. So I was a little bit afraid, like was not able to sit for many internships, or neither I was a little bit scared, like if I will be able to sit for the like the placement rounds or not. I love computer science, but I hated physics. I have a phobia of maths. Like I'm not very good at maths. Like even my 12th result, 12th maths CBSE result was 48 out of 100. So little that.
Oh,
Like my aggregate of 12th was 80%, but my maths marks was literally 48. So
so
I was
guys, you
not
need
very.
to think about it. A person who scored only 48 in the 12th in the math, and finally he got placed in big dream company Paytm. So you can learn from him. Like even though you are not good in studies earlier, but you can make it up, make up it, and you can go for it. You can try for the best company. You will be get selected.
Yeah, it is actually one of my. I had a classmate like who was also in DTU, and he also had the same trouble with his CGPA and something. So his CGPA at the end of the third year was 6.5 something. He got a on-campus placement from MMT, and then he later moved on to Shopee in the March. And previous to that, he had given the coding rounds, the interview rounds for Google, and now he has joined Google last month, like in August.